هذه 7 وهذه 7. طيب ما يعني ما افهم، هذول العائله كانوا بيضربوا صواريخ، واحد عمره 6 سنين واحد عمره 70 سنه وما بينهما بيضربوا صواريخ حتى يستهدف البيت باللي فيه. طب ماذا تسمى هذه جريمه؟ شو تسمى؟ ماذا نسميها في عرف القانون الدولي؟ اللي تقتل عائله كامله.
Though they came in drips and drabs every time something surfaces that the emanations from the Edward Snowden files catches our attention, there is something of an earth shake in and around the media, but does it really get under the skin of the intelligence community? That's one of the questions we now learn of as we hear 5 politically active American citizens have been targeted by the NSA. Much more from the intelligence underground. Let's welcome back to MidPoint Chief Analyst for LIGNET, the Langley Intelligence Group Network. Former member of the CIA, Fred Fleitz, joins us on the show. Fred, good to see you again. Fred, can you hear me?
Hey, Ed, I can hear you now.
There you go. Okay, good to hear. Let's get right to it with the NSA spying on 5 American Muslims, according to a report in the Washington Post. I think this will catch a lot of people off guard, but it certainly will have to put the NSA again on its heels to have to explain why.
Well, Ed, this story is from Glenn Greenwald. He is the former London Guardian reporter who's been facilitating Edward Snowden's leaks. And Greenwald put out a report on his website earlier in the week, and the New York Times had a big story yesterday. What this comes down to is that Greenwald and Snowden are claiming that the NSA is spying on Americans simply because they are Muslims. And they named 7 Muslims in the Greenwald story and in the New York Times story. 2 of them, Anwar al-Awlaki and Samir Khan, were known to be associates of al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. They don't spend much time talking about them. But 5 others, Nihat Awad, Hoshan Amirati, Asim Ghafoor, Faisal Gil, and Gaha Saeed, they're claiming had no ties to terrorist organizations, had not been indicted of a crime, and should not have been targeted. Now, what happened here is the FBI and the NSA obtained court warrants to monitor the communications of the last 5 individuals. And Greenwald in the Times is claiming that there was no reason to do that. They didn't have any suspicious connections. Not true. All of them, except for Hossan Amirati, had ties to Hamas, Hezbollah, or al-Qaeda. Amirati ran for the president of Iran and has ties to Hezbollah and to the Iranian government. So to claim that these guys were targeted simply because they were Muslims is simply untrue.
Does this not, though, have the NSA at the point where, when reports such as these come out, they do damage the intelligence community, they damage, in many ways, the American confidence in the intelligence community? Do they not have to come out and address these? At least what you have just told us is something that needs to be said and needs to be put into the conversation. So do they not have almost a warrant at this point to get out there and try to get ahead of these stories and tell people that what we are doing is here for a reason?
I think they do damage because media accounts of stories like this have been so biased. The New York Times says a little bit about possible reasons for why these last 5 individuals were targeted. But the point of the story is that they were really targeted because they were Muslims. They had suspicious contacts, pretty dramatic ones. One individual, for example, Faisal Gil, was a consultant for the American Muslim Council, an organization founded by Abdul Rahman Abu Dhabi, Amrabi, and he was arrested for participating in a Libyan plot to assassinate the Saudi Crown Prince Abdullah in 2003. And there's connections like this for all of these guys. So this claim by Greenwald in the Times that this was only because of their religion, if you look at all of them, they all had suspicious connections that a court decided was enough to justify monitoring their communications.
Here's a difficult idea, though, and a difficult question, I think. There was an article written about this that pointed out the idea that a religion or a race is deemed probable cause by law enforcement to investigate any American is an affront to our Constitution. But let me bring in again a very difficult thinking process here. Is it not fair to say that at the very core of a lot of the current terrorist groups around the world, religion is at the core of many of their beliefs and needs to be taken into the overall investigative process in trying to find the people that you think may be out there looking to kill you. I think that would be at least a fair assumption to make.
Religion is at the core of some of these groups, but I don't think it's fair to smear the Muslim religion as, I mean, most Muslims are not terrorists. They don't support violence. And I think we have to draw a distinction here between the small minority who have hijacked the Muslim religion to use it to advance terrorism and attacks on Western civilization, and the vast majority of Muslims who are peaceful. That said, it's hard sometimes to make the distinction because there are so many of these radical Islamists who are claiming that they're simply exercising their freedom of religion, when in fact they are practicing political Islam, which is far from what most Muslims believe is called for in their religion under the Quran.
All right, about a minute or so left here. Let's switch topics very quickly. Germany asking a U.S. top spy to leave the country amid all this flap over the NSA listening in on Germany. We've had an earlier guest who said that Germany might just be so upset here because of what they consider the incompetence here of the Americans coming after their own people here. Is this something that's going to have long-lasting effects, or is this something that, quite frankly, will be done, talked about, and eventually America and Germany will be back on the same page?
I don't think it will have long-lasting effects, but it is going to have a significant effect on the Germans for a while. Germany operates in the shadow of the Stasi, the East German intelligence service, and they're concerned about allegations like this. The U.S. may have had good reason to monitor these Germans. Bear in mind that during the Iraq War, France and Germany were collaborating with the Russians when we had U.S. troops on the ground. There are left-wing German parties who have been in touch with Edward Snowden. There are German businessmen who want to lower sanctions on Russia and Iran. Germany is one of Iran's largest trading partners. So I think there are good reasons why we might be interested in spying on the Germans. That said, I'm interested in finding a way to prevent spy scandals like this from damaging our relations. And we may be approaching the point where we would have a no-spy agreement with Germany.
That is going to be interesting to find out, because certainly we all know every country spies on every country. It doesn't make a difference who it is, whether they're friendly or not. In this day and age, everybody has somebody listening. Fred, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend, from LIGNET. Thank you so much. We'll have you back again real soon and dig into what's happening in the intelligence community.
Good to be here.
All right. Hey, the emperor not only has no clothes, he's not even trying to find the proper attire before parading in front of his subjects. At least that certainly is what it seems like as the president has his trip through Colorado and Texas. That's on Telling It Like It Is, and a lot more as we continue right here on MidPoint on Newsmax.